Chiefs Kingdom, let's discuss what in the world happened yesterday in the Bills versus Chiefs game. Patrick Mahomes was upset. Andy Reid was upset. Were the officials right? Were the officials wrong? Was there any way that was offsides? Should it have been called? Well, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. We're going to talk about it all right here on the Chiefs Report by Chad Sports. We appreciate you watching, and I'm telling you, we have to get started with this question because there's a lot of talk going around. Mahomes is a whiner. Mahomes is complaining. Mahomes does this. Mahomes does that. Well, I have to ask Chiefs Kingdom, was Mahomes' reaction warranted after that offsides call? Or maybe it wasn't overreaction. Let me know. If it was, it warranted. If it was, type Y for yes. If you think no, overreaction, then type in for no. JC Andrews here with you to start this show off talking about Patrick Mahomes and what exactly happened last night. So obviously it was no surprise to anybody. Mahomes was very, very upset. He was just disgruntled by the call. He didn't understand the timing of it. The funny thing about it, though, was that Kadarius Toney was offsides. So was his reaction warranted? Why did he react like that? Everything just didn't really make sense. We're going to talk to it all, break it down one by one, the reaction after the game, the reaction now today from Andy Reid, other people around the Chiefs facility. But let's first start with the stats and kind of what happened, because ultimately you shouldn't really have been in that position. The Bills are now a 7-6 team. They were a 6-6 team, and yet you held them close. You were down to them again in the final position. There's been too many times where you have to come down to that final possession to win the game, and this time, once again, you cannot do it. And guess what? The wide receivers continue to find different ways to lose the game. I am going to be the first one to say this, and you may be not like this. Kadarius Toney is offsides. His foot is on the line. This is a clear offsides call. Should it have been called? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think there should have been a warning, though. Like, if you're this clear offsides, you don't deserve a warning. I've been on these wide receivers' case the entire year, and there had to have been something done about it, and there wasn't. Kadarius Toney dropped 2 passes in this game and then did this. Did he make a spectacular play, catching the ball from Kelce and running on the field? Yes, but it didn't matter because he lined up offsides. The fact of the matter is, this is a penalty, and you just have to accept it. Does it suck? Yes. But was it a penalty? 100%. Now, the problem with that, though, is, was it a penalty? Yes. But the thing that I think Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes were more upset about was that they didn't get a warning. Andy Reid said this after the game. Usually I get a warning before something like that happens. A bit embarrassing in the National Football League for that to take place. Now, Andy Reid said that, and Mahomes also commented on this whole thing, just kind of talking about why he was upset. And it wasn't because that the call was wrong. It wasn't because that this or that. It was simply because they didn't get a warning and that it took away from a spectacular play. He said this: "It's tough to swallow, not only from me and football in general, to take away greatness like that. For a guy like Travis to make a play like that, you want to see the guys on the field decide the game. They're human, they make mistakes. But every week we're talking about something. It's the call. Just in that moment, not for myself. To have a flag change the outcome of a game, I've never had offensive offsides called. If it does, they warn you. There wasn't a warning the entire game, and then you make a call like that in the final minute. Another game, we're talking about the refs. It's not what we want for the NFL. It's not what we want for football." I agree. The fact of the matter, though, is it was offsides, and that everything he said in that argument after the game was valid. Usually you get a warning. The problem, though, is, and they asked Carl Chiefers, the head referee, last night about this. He was so blatantly offside, they didn't feel there was a warning necessary. And Kadarius Toney, we found out today, did not check with the ref. He never pointed over. When you are taught as a receiver, all right, you line up, you get in your stance, and then you look left or you look right, wherever your official is, and you point to them. And if they give you the thumbs up, you are onside. Kadarius Toney never did that. That's the problem. It's not that there was no warning. It's not that the call was wrong. It's the fact that Kadarius Toney didn't have the sense of mind in a critical point in the game to check his referee and say, hey, Am I onside or not? That's ultimately what this boils down to. You can complain all you want. You can say this, you can say that. But you have to keep looking at Kadarius Toney and say, hey, why did you not check him? What made you think, let's just not check and make sure we're onside? It makes no sense. Now, I think the problem, though, with Mahomes comes in at this point. And maybe this is the reason people are upset at Mahomes. It's because he went after the game to Allen and continued complaining about the call after the game. Now, was he pissed? Was he emotional? Yes. But people felt that it was very bad of him and not right to go up to Allen and complain about the call after really Josh had some severe losses here at Arrowhead Stadium and had some tough games against the Chiefs that he swallowed really well. And Mahomes, one loss, he immediately takes away right off the bat. So who is to blame for the Chiefs' loss last night? Is it the refs? Is it Mahomes? Is it Kadarius Toney? Is it Andy Reid? Is it Matt Nagy? To me, there's so many choices. There's not one. I don't think it's the defense. You held Josh Allen and the Bills to 20 points and less than 350 yards. But there has to be some accountability on the offensive side because they just have been bad consistently, and it's getting to a point where they're losing games for the defense. We have a news perspective, though, because I just mentioned why people are upset about that whole Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes talk after the game. But there actually has been more information that has come to light and maybe some videos that people didn't exactly take in the right context. We're going to tell you exactly about that perspective here in just a minute. Now, before we move on in today's show, I got to tell you about our sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. And with basketball season here, it is the perfect time to start on PrizePicks as you can pick combo projections across the NBA and NFL. So you could, for instance, pick the more on Travis Kelce's touchdowns and the more on Jason Tatum points. Check it out at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. Now, if you haven't played PrizePicks before, it's super, super easy. You pick 2 or more players, and then you pick more or less on their PrizePicks projected stats. You can go 2 to 6, and then you choose flex or power play, depending on how confident you are on your entries. I've got one going tonight for Monday Night Football, and I'm going more across the board. Devon Achane, I think he'll score a touchdown, so I've got the more there. Derrick Henry, it's going to be a rushing attack for the Titans all night long against the Dolphins. I've got the more. And then Jordan Love and Saquon Barkley, I'm moving for an offensive game there with the Packers and Giants, going the more on them as well. I like the more. I think it's fun. It really adds a lot of excitement because you're always watching something. Whenever an offense is on the field, guess what? You get to root on something. It makes it so much more exciting. Now, there's a lot of reasons you can love PrizePicks, but the one reason that I like it is it's just you against the numbers. Now, you're not battling pros. You're not battling sharks. All it is you. You can also mix and match sports, like I mentioned, so you can go NBA and NFL, use those and combine them into one entry. They also have a reboot policy. Now, PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So, for football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. That's super awesome. Again, they're the only daily fantasy sports platform with that injury insurance policy. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So, once again, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. Shout out to PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Okay, so here's the new perspective we're talking about. Chase Snyder kind of pointed this out on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, saying that the shot that's being thrown around makes it look like Mahomes just ran right up to Josh Allen and cried out of nowhere. That's the one you see of the back of Josh Allen, and it's just Mahomes coming at him yelling. But there is an alternate angle where you have him from Mahomes going straight to Allen. And if you look there, Allen can ask very clearly to Mahomes, what are you so upset about? And it seems pretty obvious that he was just asking his boy, hey, what are you mad about? And then Mahomes explained it while in the heat of it all. So I think it's hard because there's not really a clear evidence behind this. It's not like this is, word for word. You can tell what Allen is saying. But if you look at the clip from Mahomes' vantage point going up to Allen, you can clearly see Allen put a little word in his ear. He kind of gives him a little hug and kind of talks to him like, hey, like, why are you upset? And Mahomes said, it's just the worst call. And with some more explicit language, we'll say. That's the thing people are going to be mad about. But if Allen asked the question, then there's no reason for you to get mad at Mahomes. He was just frustrated at answering a question to Josh Allen. I think the other thing people are not looking at is that Mahomes has just been boiling all season. Like, ultimately, this has come to a boiling point. Sometimes you just need to yell it out. And I think this was pointed out by Jeff Schwartz saying, the anger has been in the building for Mahomes, and he said it all right things for weeks. But sometimes it's just good to yell it out. Honestly, I think that's what this was. It was blown call last week on the pass interference call. I think that one was more blown than this week. You have the call this week that hurt you because of the receivers. Everything just kind of accumulated today, or rather yesterday, and Mahomes blew up. Ultimately, that's what it was. And I think it's just tough, and now it's putting him in a bad light because of his frustration when he wants to be positive with his team, but at the same time, he just can't exactly get everything going in terms of how exactly to run about this whole situation. Now, here's the problem. You have this going back and forth with Mahomes and Allen and the way exactly they went about this. Yet, at the same time, you have Andy Reid also kind of cleaning up his mistakes as well. So we had that talk about how Mahomes and Allen maybe wasn't exactly what we saw. Well, Andy Reid, after his complaining last night, he said this today. We got to clean up some penalties and some drops. With that, I know what I said about the officials. Listen, there are no excuses on this thing. I've been doing this a long time. This isn't an excuse. It's a working relationship. That part is so important in this thing. You see it on both sides. You give the head coach a heads up. That's what I was really trying to get across. This honestly would have been the more appropriate response here at the after the game yesterday rather than putting it out today. If he would have said that last night, I think there may be a little bit less of a complaint from the NFL, from fans around the league, just kind of saying like, oh, he's complaining, well, they always get their calls, blah, 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 blah. Last week, the Chiefs didn't get the call, and now this week, it was an unfortunate call that you could understand Reid and Mahomes' frustration because if you usually get a warning, then you should get a warning. But at the same time, the basically explanation from Carl Chiefers was saying he was so egregiously offsides, he didn't deserve a warning. I mean, I can't really deny with that. I mean, if he was offsides, you got to call it. Was this an overreaction by the Chiefs, though? I mean, ultimately, I think everything's kind of calmed down, and you have people kind of coming to their senses. But I have to ask, was this an overreaction? Type O for overreaction. Type W for warranted if you think, no, this wasn't an overreaction. This game was stupid. There was missed calls earlier in the game. Yeah, this one was, maybe the right call, but it's just honestly infuriating the way this game played out. Let me know. O for overreaction, W for warranted. My final thought. Warning or no warning, you have to check with the officials if you are onside. I said it earlier, when you are a wide receiver, growing up, you are taught, step in line and look to your official and say, hey, am I onside? The fact that Andy Reid today had to say, guess we'll have to teach Kadarius Toney to check if he's onside is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm tired of people, oh, Mahomes is complaining. Oh, they usually get the calls. Forget about it. Let's stop talking about Mahomes. Let's stop talking about Reid. Let's stop talking about complaining, and let's start talking about how this wide receiver room has lost the Chiefs games time and time and time again. That's the ultimate thing. It's not Mahomes. It's not Reid. It's the wide receivers. They drop balls. They don't know what they're doing, and honestly, they're terrible. MVS doesn't know how to catch a pass. Kadarius Toney has one of the stupidest things happen to him pretty much every week. It's just infuriating because this team could be so much better if Brett Veach got off his butt and actually wanted to make this wide receiver room better. Instead, he thought, we're going to try and make it with Patrick Mahomes and Mahomes only. And I'm going to stop right here because there is some blame to put on Patrick Mahomes. There is some. He didn't play well yesterday. I'm sorry. He didn't. He played better. Maybe something would have changed. But honestly, this all comes down to the wide receivers and a little bit of Matt Nagy's scheme. I know Andy Reid calls the plays, but Matt Nagy, his scheme is just not exactly the greatest. Welcome to my TED Talk. Make sure you subscribe for Chiefs coverage all year long. We're not usually like this. We're usually going to put out news, rumors. We're going to have a little more fun on here. But at the same time, sometimes you just need to stick it to the man. And I'm kind of tired of this whole losing streak. I'm sure you are too. So we can all kind of talk out this frustration together, and I'd appreciate if you subscribed. hang out with us and hopefully get through the season together. And hopefully Chiefs figure it out here soon because 4 games left for the season. You don't got much time. We appreciate you watching. As always, Chiefs Kingdom. Peace out.